This is going to be David Dole, who calls himself the Rational National, talking about Trump floats war with 3 different allies, and CNN anchor defends him. Now, I watched a little bit of this, but Trump talking about Canada, Greenland, and I forget who the third one was. I don't know if they're talking about Mexico in this one, but he said Mexico before, but he said some other, Panama Canal, I think is what they're going to talk about. But David Dole, and again, sorry about the voice. So David Dole here is a supposed leftist. Now, what do we want as leftists? We want the world to come together, the workers of the world to unite, the countries, the communities, everything of the world to come together and be one, right? And be one big country, one big world, whatever you call it, and it all be together. Now, to do this, we need to expand, but without war. We need to grow, right? Like Canada, if we're going to be one entire world thing, Canada's going to be part of America, or America's going to be part of Canada, however you look at it. China's going to grow, Russia's going to grow, and then we're all going to come together and become one thing. Now that if you're on the left and you're like, oh, well, Donald Trump's going to do it, now I'm against it, then are you really on the left? Are you really for the workers of the world uniting? If a right-wing person's going to help it move and you're against it just because you have Trump derangement syndrome? It's not cool. Like, I wanted us to do more space. I don't know how much the Space Force has actually been doing, but I thought it was so ironic that of all people, Donald Trump was going to make the Space Force. And now he's going to try to make Greenland and Canada and hopefully Mexico part of the United States. Like, that would be amazing. And just keep expanding till the entire, it becomes the United States of North America, then the United States of the Americas, then the United States of Earth, or the United Continents of Earth. And there we go.
We're spending hundreds of billions a year to take care of Canada. We don't need anything they have.
But a lot of his supporters also just like that he bucks tradition.
Wow, things are pretty stupid right now, aren't they?
Yes, you can say that again.
Donald Trump, in a press
say
conference
that into the mirror,
made some comments about various allies that he wants to take over. It's hard to know how much of this to actually take seriously. Because on one hand, this is so completely insane.
Is it that Donald Trump wants to take over? Or are we going to become one? It's not necessarily taking over if there's no bombs dropped. If we just say, hey, let's sign this thing. We're the United States or the United Provinces of North America.
On the other, Donald Trump is completely insane.
But so see, these people with Trump
this could be a negotiating tactic for whatever his other purposes are. Could be a way to distract from the things he actually plans to do, or it could be a real idea that he is laying out in front of us.
Let's not come together.
So I'm going to get to a few of these clips, as well as some reaction online, including how CNN is being complicit in some of this.
But you see his face, how confused he has to look and how stupid he looks, right? Because if it was Obama, if it was Bernie Sanders, if Bernie Sanders was the president and said, we need to make Canada, Mexico, all of the North America one big province or one big country or whatever, he would be all for it, right? Oh, yeah. But because it's Trump, and Trump bloviates and just talks his weirdness, they're all, they got Trump derangement syndrome. But it was like when Obama got in office, all these white people went nuts. Like, I can't have a black president. They just started, Mitch McConnell, we're not going to do anything that he wants to do. We're just going to stonewall him, right? It's just because of dirty politics. If Canada and the United States and Greenland and Mexico was all one big thing, and then hey, we get the Panama Canal, then Panama is going to be part of the United States, and just expand in a non-aggressive way.
I'll get to how ridiculous the CNN anchor is in a bit here, But first, here is let's start with these comments. Donald Trump's idea to rename the Gulf of Mexico. Yes, this is how dumb things are.
50 to 60 trillion dollars worth of assets. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
I find that kind of silly. Like, really, who cares what the name of some water is?
Which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate.
But then again, if we make Mexico not make, ask, and let whatever Mexico becomes part of the United States, then, but still, Mexico is still part of America, right? America is North America, Central America, and South America. So I guess to call it the Gulf of America is also true too, right? Because it does border, I think, all three, right? I think it borders South America too.
Appropriate. And Mexico has to stop allowing millions of people to pour into our country. They can stop them.
The Gulf of America. What a beautiful name. It reminded me of Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase. This is so dumb. In fact, it is so dumb that this was a joke that Stephen Colbert brought up in 2010 on the Colbert Report at the time. Colbert raised $150,000 for the Gulf oil spill cleanup thanks to a sponsorship by Microsoft. So he got his wish. They gave money to the Colbert Nation Gulf of America Fund. Here is the graphic of that. Gulf of America. We are living in a time where Colbert's hyperbolic caricature of Republicans is, in fact, just what the party is now.
It's what it's always been. You see the memes where the rich people are eating off the table, where all the workers are like knelt down and the table's on their backs and stuff. It's always been like that. There's you can look at memes or whatever you want to call them from the 20s, 30s. Same exact scenarios going on here. You go on back before that, then it's way worse.
I got nothing else to add there. Like, what else is there to add? It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Here is
it's so
more.
Stupid that a leftist would not want the rest of the world coming together. Like, that's what we want. We want the world to be all unified.
Deals with Greenland and Panama. What he plans to do there.
Your references to Greenland and the Panama Canal, so forth. Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
No.
What kind of question is that? Military or economic coercion? This is the United States of America. We have been at war over like 93% of our existence. We are always at war. That is what we do. That is what we do best. If you got oil, if you discover something nice in your land, you will get democracy. You will get it steadfast in a hurry. But are you serious? But economics, yes, we will always use economic ways to get you to do what we want, if not war ways. But Trump, he gonna tell you the truth. We need to stay there for the oil. We need to surround the oil. So here we go.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your plan is? Are you going to negotiate a new treaty? Are you going to ask the Canadians to hold a vote? What is the strategy?
Yeah, I can't assure you. You're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two. But I can say this. We need them for economic security.
So there you have it. Donald Trump claiming that, no, military is not off the table when it comes to Greenland and the Panama
He talked about
Canal.
invading Mexico.
And to go to just how far he's going with this, at least currently, Don Jr. is currently visiting Greenland.
He took Charlie Kirk
amid
really.
father's interest in owning the island, which is controlled by Denmark. It's an autonomous territory, as they say there. The Danish PM says it's not for sale. I can't spend much time on this because it's just this gets to what is the benefit to anybody trying to.
What is the benefit to anybody making the world more connected? I would think that's a benefit to everybody, especially if you're supposed to be on the left. But I'm only on the left when the people I like do left things. But if the people that I don't like do stuff, then bad. Orange man, bad. This dude, man. Look.
Actually go through with this, which again goes to why it is hard to take any of this seriously. But keeping in mind,
I mean, this is more world news, but he does talk a lot about American news, and he always puts his opinion on it, and he's a vote blue no matter who, also liberal, which again, liberals, you need to look up some leftist stuff, look up Fred Hampton, look up Malcolm X, but look up more than just I Had a Dream Malcolm X. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. Look up Martin Luther King, and look up more than just I Had a Dream Martin Luther King. Look up Malcolm X, but look up Fred Hampton. Look up the Black Panthers. Look up communism. This dude is liberal, and he's just leading you astray. Just if all you see is Democrats as the opposition to Republicans, nothing is gonna get better. Nothing will ever get better. I can guarantee you that almost 100%.
Donald Trump is a very unserious, ridiculous person.
As you are talking about.
And he is now surrounded with more sycophants than he was before. Meaning less guardrails, less people in the room who have some semblance of an idea of what is going on. So they are more open to these sorts of outlandish ideas in a way that his previous administration may not have been. Now, Charlie Angus, who was an NDP MP in Canada, reacted to what Trump has been saying, or what he said today, saying sending his dumb-assed son to Greenland while threatening Canada is a deliberate provocation of NATO. Going on to write, on the day he should have been offering a vision for America, Donald was threatening the sovereignty of Canada, which I'll get to in a bit here. And then he sent Don Jr. to Greenland in an overt message of grifter imperialism. This is a deliberate provocation of his NATO allies. Both Canada and Greenland/Denmark are founding members of NATO. Under Article 5 of the Charter, threat to any NATO nation requires military intervention from other NATO allies. Germany, UK, France, Netherlands, Iceland, etc. Do you really think the U.S. Army is going to war with 32 countries of NATO? Hopefully not.
But then, NATO, all these countries. So the UK, they went through, not UK, the European Union, Brexit, right? They went through, was that the UK? Yeah, the UK left the European Union, and then the European Union, broke down a bit. But we need to be making these unions bigger. Europe should be one country by now, one thing, whatever you want to call it. Africa should be one country. They were forced to break up. They don't want to be broken up. There should be no lines. Like Donald Trump said, that these invisible borders or these made-up imaginary lines on the ground. They're all imaginary. We're all one people. China has certain ground minerals. We have certain ground minerals. Then South America's going to have different stuff. We just need to cooperate and share. It's so silly.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Okay.
I don't know what else to add here. Trump is not even in yet. So we got some time. Here is how...
As an army, man, we do attack people, but we don't really attack European countries. I don't think we're going to attack Canada. I don't think we're going to attack Greenland. But if we start bringing in the countries that we wouldn't attack, the non-shithole countries, right? If we start bringing them in a lefty, everybody communal way, then eventually we'll have to start working with the other countries the same way, right? Once we get all the countries that aren't shitholes on our level or in our thing, and then China's gonna get all these shithole countries, on the level, right? They're building everywhere. So by the time we come together and they got everything built, we can all come together as one big planet. Yay!
CNN is reacting, at least initially reacted to some of this. Check out how ridiculous the CNN host is here.
We should not be gratuitously pissing these people off. Again, where is the economic benefit for the people who voted for Donald Trump when he's off, telling tales of Greenland and renaming the Gulf of Mexico?
Well, when the way he pitches it is, when it comes to Greenland, for example, it's for national security purposes. Is there any credence to that statement?
No, it's bananas. It's insane. I mean, again, Denmark, which owns Greenland, I think that's probably a fact that most Americans are learning, is a NATO ally, right? No, so it's just complete madness from a national security standpoint, and it also is antagonizing, right? What if some leader in Canada or Mexico is elected and says, Mexico, we want California back? Where's the economic message there?
I certainly see your point about the economic message being a big driver for the election, but a lot of his supporters also just like that he bucks tradition, that he doesn't do what others do, that he's willing to throw stuff out there that may be controversial, and he portrays himself as a negotiator and a businessman, and a lot of his supporters frankly like that. A lot of his
Man had to file for bankruptcy 4 to 6 times, maybe even like 8 times. The negotiator, the businessman. Like, you just got so much money you can't lose. It's so crazy that people think this dude knows how to do business. He was born with a platinum spoon in his mouth.
Supporters frankly like what he threw out about, renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Are you on the payroll?
Oh
is
my
it
gosh.
your job to explain why his supporters like him? Or is it your job as a journalist to
Wait a second. Is she a newswoman? Is it her job to say why her supporters might what they think? Yeah. That's telling the news. That's letting the left or even the liberals that watch her, right? Because CNN is very liberal, not left. The liberals that watch her that's trying to humanize the right or the Trump supporters. Yes, let them know what they think. Are you serious? What are you about to say?
To the Gulf of America.
Are you on the payroll? Is it your job to explain why his supporters like him?
Yes, yes.
Or is it your job as a journalist to push back against insanity?
Well, what is insanity? Like, it doesn't make any sense. They're just going to be hyperbolic and say, he's going to talk about his feelings, right? This is all going to be feels probably.
To acknowledge objective reality. To hopefully report things from the perspective of human rights and humanity. Absolutely insane.
What are you saying?
That they are entertaining this in the way that they are.
Human rights. We're not going to go to Greenland like we went to Iraq. Now, if we do, I will obviously say that was wrong and we shouldn't do that. We're going to go to Greenland with a big checkbook and hand somebody a whole bunch of money and just say, now you're American citizens. At least hopefully we say they're American citizens. Same with Canada. Like, it's just going to be like a money transfer or a line transfer somewhere where you sign differently. It's not going to be a bomb transfer. But if it is going to be a bomb transfer, I'm not for that.
To have the Democratic congressperson there be the one to try and inject reality instead of the actual news anchor is wild. Expect more of this. This is the turn that a lot of media is making. Mark Zuckerberg came out today, Facebook, saying that they're not going to be moderating content on there.
So the turn of the so-called leftists turning hard Democrat, right? You're going to see. So the more these people who want to call themselves leftists or progressives, they back right-wing Democrats, they do right-wing stuff, that lets the actual far right go further right because it just shifts the Overton window to the right. If progressives need to stay left, they need to push hard left, like Bernie Sanders, and then even harder, right? Like Bernie Sanders and Andrew Yang pushing that UBI and universal health care and all. Bernie was way more popular than Andrew Yang. But Andrew Yang got a lot of right-wing people, a lot of tech bros, a lot of that stuff just with the UBI. The UBI is a left-wing policy. Any left-wing, not any, 90% of the left-wing policies people love. Some people don't like the what is it? Not financial, but the communal or whatever. If you're talking about trans and stuff and gay people or whatever, some people don't. Oh, I don't understand this and that. I mean, I'm down for whoever, but drifting off here on that.
You're gonna just have fact checks based on the community themselves. Which, if you know anything about the Facebook community, yeah, good luck with those fact checks. So this is just what a lot of those in power are doing. Simply bowing to the leader, Donald Trump, because they want to be able to maintain their wealth, their power.
That's pretty much what power does. They don't bow to Donald Trump. They don't bow to power. The money people run Donald Trump. They run the presidency. They're the ones who, the lobbyists and all that, they control the policy. They get what they want. He was kind of setting me off a little bit. I apologize. I started rambling. When people say they're on the left and they do liberal stuff, it kind of sets me off. I do apologize if sometimes I go off task or whatnot. But here goes. There's a Fox 5? Yeah, the 5 on Fox. And they're going to be talking about the same thing. Trump floats MAGA global domination is how they call it.
Donald Trump plotting MAGA global domination. The president-elect holding his second news conference at Mar-a-Lago since wiping the floor with the Dems back in November, Harold. He kicked things off by blasting Biden for trying to sabotage his administration after Joe announced a ban on new offshore drilling. Take it away, Donnie.
We are inheriting a difficult situation from the outgoing administration, and they're trying everything they can to make it more difficult.
That is amazing thing for him to say right there. In 2008, we had the housing crisis. Obama took over from Bush from the housing crisis, right? Bush handed Obama a terrible economy. Obama made it great for the stockholders, at least, right? He built it up, all the stockholders, the economy, whatever is great. And the stock market had been on some record highs for however many months, couple years, whatever it was, 4 or 5 years, I think. And then Donald Trump comes in, the stock market keeps going up, and Donald Trump is bragging about, oh yeah, I'm at the lead of the stock market, whatever, in my presidency, we had the most. And then he had the COVID crisis, yeah, okay, but he handled it poorly. And then the stock started going down and all that stuff, so he gave Joe Biden a terrible economy. And now Joe Biden has picked it up a bit, and I am no Joe Biden fan. And Joe Biden is a terrible person, terrible man, terrible president. It should have been much better than it is. But it's better than what Trump gave Joe Biden, right? What Joe Biden has given Trump is far better than what Trump gave Joe Biden 4 years ago.
Inflation is continuing to rage, and interest rates are far too high. President Biden's actions yesterday on offshore drilling, banning offshore drilling, will not stand. I will reverse it immediately. They told me that we're going to do everything possible to make this transition to the new administration very smooth. It's not smooth.
Like January 6th.
Trump then outlining his plans to export MAGA globally. He's eyeing a Panama Canal takeback, scheming to make Greenland great again. Today, he sent his son Don Jr. to scope out the property. Trump also twisting Canada's arm for a merger with the U.S. And he wants to give the Gulf of Mexico a new name.
We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to
the Gulf of America,
which has a beautiful ring.
Your references to Greenland and the Panama Canal, so forth. Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
No. We need them for economic security. The
Bombs
Panama
over
Canal was
Baghdad.
built for our military. We need Greenland for national
Or
security
Greenland.
purposes.
Are you
Or
also
Panama.
considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No, economic force. Because Canada and the United States, that would really be something.
Something.
You get rid of
Imagine
that artificially drawn line,
It's artificial,
and you
ain't
take
there?
a look at what that looks like, and it would also be much.
So is the line between Canada and the United States the only artificial line? Or could you say that about the line between Mexico and the United States and all the other countries around the world? It's just some artificial BS because Donald Trump is so rich that he goes to whatever country he wants to go to whenever he wants to go to that country. The lines are truly and literally artificial for Donald Trump. Would you like to make them artificial for us?
Much better for national security.
A man, a plan, Panama. But Canada's outgoing Prime Minister,
Panama.
black-faced enthusiast, disagrees. Justin Trudeau quoting on X, "There isn't a snowball's chance in hell that Canada would become part of the U.S." And
Why would you talk about the blackface enthusiast and not put a quick picture at least of his blackface up there?
other Canucks are mad.
Blown opportunity.
To the president, I'll make him a counteroffer. How about if we buy Alaska and we'll throw in Minnesota and Minneapolis at the same time?
But if Canada becomes part of the U.S., then Alaska, Minnesota, and Minneapolis are all part of Canada at the same time. Win, win, win. Let's do it.
Hey, Donald, have we got a deal for you? You think we want to be the 51st state? Nah, but maybe California would like to be the 11th province. How about it? California? Oregon? Washington?
I think I saw her in an insurance commercial. So Jesse, okay, this
About
renaming
Seth, I
stuff
saw her
is
in a
largely
Budweiser
symbolic,
commercial.
but at least he's renaming something on behalf of America. When the Dems rename things, whether it's Columbus Day or schools, it's to reduce America's.
Oh, it's to build up Native people. It's to build up marginalized people, not reduce America. And then again, the holidays, the Columbus Day, it's imperialism days, right? It's days that celebrate imperialists. That we stop doing that. And so this is a beautiful, I didn't even think about, Donald Trump is talking about expanding in a non-imperialist way. Because it's wrong. You don't do it like that. And so, yes, like let's get rid of statues of imperialists. Let's put them in our history books. Let's learn about the savages that went around the world and destroyed the natives, the indigenous of this planet, right? We need to know about them and learn about them, but we do not need to celebrate them. It's crazy. But that Donald Trump can say, let's make Greenland part of this great country. Let's make Canada, Mexico, and some other islands. But what he needs to say would be great is if let's make our territories part of America. Let's make Samoa the 51st state. Let's make Guam the 52nd state. Let's make Puerto Rico the 53rd state. And I'm not ordering them any other order than just the ones that came to mind. So they can all be, I don't know how many territories we have, but I think we have a few more, like 5, 10, whatever. They can all be the 55th to 60th states at the same time, right? Make them all, but then they all the people there get full rights, citizenship of America, because Samoans, if you're born in Samoa, you're an American national, but you don't get to vote, so you're not an American citizen. But if you are, so you can be born in Samoa, and then you can move to Hawaii and have a kid in Hawaii, your kid can vote. Then you can go back to Samoa, have a kid in Samoa, that kid can't vote. Then you could have a kid in Arkansas, that kid can vote. It makes absolutely no sense.
Patriotism. It's like we can't name it after a president. We can't name it after Christopher Columbus. We have to denigrate America. He's saying Gulf of Mexico? Nah. Gulf of America.
And how are you going to disagree with that?
Yeah.
You can't. So you're going to come out against America? What are you, for the Mexicans?
Mexico is part of America, you dipshit. Like, what is wrong with these people? There's North America, there's Central America, and there's South America. There are 3 Americas. The Gulf of America touches all 3 of them, so it does make sense in a literal standpoint. But these guys hear America and think it's the Gulf of the United States. It's not what.
Permission to make an analogy?
Permission
Granted.
This is like Tyrus. Tyrus's neighborhood. And Tyrus is kind of like the neighborhood watch, the one-man neighborhood watch. And he happens to also have the biggest house in the neighborhood, and he also happens to be a trillionaire. And one day, Tyrus takes a stroll in the neighborhood, looking around, and he sees a house that is next door that he likes. And he knocks on the door, knock, knock. How much? Oh, this house is not for sale. Well, of course it is. How much? Oh, this house is not for sale. Well, I can take it by force, or you guys can sleep on it, and maybe tomorrow you can tell me what the price is.
Imperialism.
That's where we are with Trump. He is America's real estate tycoon.
Now, I hope that's not what Trump is thinking. I could take it by force, but this is straight up Western imperialism, no change, no learning, and that is not how I want to expand.
So he's testing the waters, he's flexing his muscle, he's just seeing what's possible out there and trying to find out the new contours of the new world order.
Finagle.
And ultimately trying to get a better deal for America. And I think the grand strategy is create a North American trade, energy, and security network that gets the best terms for us. Now,
See, man, I was just about to say I like that North American trade thing, and I was just about to say, why stop in North America, right? Like Central America, South America, and again, throughout the world, we need it all. But then he says that makes the best sense for us or whatever. Like, of course, I don't want to put us behind, and I don't want to give us up, but we are advanced. We have held the rest of the world back, kind of. So for us to kind of help the rest of the world out, it might seem like we're slowing our pace down or something a little bit. These super uber rich people who want to just park their boats in their boats and then maybe go to space with Elon Musk. But you're leaving out people. I hope Donald Trump is really trying to include people. I hope that is his intention.
I looked into Greenland.
No, you didn't.
I did. So the pros of Greenland are a lot of minerals, great. You could project a lot of force to counter Russia through there. But it's also a very poor country. And we basically...
So counter Russia and probably China too, right? We went over that earlier, how China has banned exports to, I think it was 28 companies in the U.S. So... See, if Donald Trump is seeing it as, oh, well, we're going to fight these people or tariff these people, exclude these people, and we're going to find our minerals somewhere else. Again, I'm not quite about that way either. Inclusion is my thing. We need to include everybody. And you can see, if you pay attention to the China videos and stuff that I post, but go look up China without me. If you see China's development versus our development over the past, 50 years, 60 years, China has far outpaced us. If you look at the past 10, 20 years, it's exponential.
Basically do whatever we want there anyway, and it would really piss off Denmark and all of Scandinavia, and they would ruin our access to the North Sea and the Baltic. See, I did study, Greg. And then in terms of Panama, yes, I definitely think they need to reduce the transit rates because we're getting ripped off every time we sail through there. But I don't want to occupy that stupid country. It's run by cartels. That'd be a mess.
That shithole country.
At first I wanted it, and I tried to divide it into 2 states. And then I realized we'd be adding Montana, basically, for the Republicans, and electorally like a Texas for the Democrats. And I don't like that. But the fact that they don't want us to take them over makes me want to invade. I want to...
Oh my goodness. Like this, he's a comedian, so he's not being 100% serious, right? Like he doesn't, at least I don't think he wants to invade Canada. But like how people say, I want to do it because they won't let me or because they kind of disagree. It's childish. I want Canada to be part of the United States so that we can feed each other, so that Americans can get Canada's drug prices. Canada can get America or the United States Second Amendment, right? We can share with each other the things that are better, because Canada has a lot of stuff that's better than us. I'm not saying that Canada is a better place than us or whatever. I'm not saying that we're a better place than Canada, but we have better stuff than Canada in some realms, right? So let's combine the better stuff, and we can kind of push the non-great stuff to the side.
Yes. I definitely think they need to reduce the transit rates because we're getting ripped off every time we sail through there. But I don't want to occupy that stupid country. It's run by cartels. It'd be a mess. Canada. At first I wanted it, and I tried to divide it into 2 states. And then I realized we'd be adding Montana, basically, for the Republicans, and electorally like a Texas for the Democrats.
It's all about politics, not about people, not about coming together, not about what can be, but about politics.
And I don't like that.
I don't
but
like
the fact
that.
they don't want us to take them over
Now I just want to
makes
beat the
me
drum.
want to invade. I want to quench my imperialist thirst.
Oh shit!
good
I
for you.
want to quench my imperialist thirst. Look at this smug motherfucker right here. I want to quench my imperialist thirst.
You know, Harold, Donald Trump was talking about the transition, and he's right. It's as disturbing as Rachel Levine's. Here you have, it's such a contrast because I've never seen this kind of overlap before in a transition where you have this competent president who is doing things, you know, that the voters ask, and then this kind of cardboard construct that is Joe Biden basically crapping on what's left of the country, kind of like an ex. You know, Biden's like a bitter ex that's taking all of your belongings and throwing them out on the lawn because you dumped them.
I know, it's Trump. They are so funny. They just project. They all do the same thing. Democrats, Republicans. If Joe Biden's going out on with hard feelings. Donald Trump was just like, all right, I lost the election. Good job. Mike Pence, sign it over. Let's go ahead. I'll go to Mar-a-Lago and I'll run next time. That's exactly what he did, right? There was no such thing as a January 6th. And now look, I don't even really care that much about January 6th. They didn't take guns. They really didn't try to overthrow the government. It wasn't the biggest thing in the world. But you can't... It's just so silly how they all do the same stuff, but in a different type of way.
Isn't that true, Harold?
It's good to be with you. I was looking forward to an in your face, but I'll wait to the end of the show. I think a couple of things.
It's face.
Welcome, Rosenda. I think it's going to be it's a couple of things. First, I think the president. I try to view this in its most favorable light because I think this is strange what he's doing. But I think in the most favorable light, as he's talking about the Gulf of America or talking about Canada and Greenland, I want to think he's trying to send a message to President Xi saying, look, if you're talking about Taiwan to the Russians, if you're going to invade Ukraine, then we can do this perhaps by using economic sanctions. I think that the other way to look at it, which I think some people will, people who are versed in foreign policy will say, it's almost the equivalent in some ways of saying if you're going to cross, when the president said there's an artificial line separating us and Canada, it sounds a lot like what Putin talked about with Ukraine. Can you imagine if the Chinese said, Lower Manhattan is Chinatown, so we'll just annex that because there are a lot of Chinese there.
So Putin and hold on.
They speak our language there, or in Little League, it's in Canada. It sounds a lot like what Putin talked about with Ukraine. Can you imagine?
Ukraine, right, man. I was about to say Crimea, but that's who they got last time, right? So Putin and Crimea, Ukraine, my bad. So Putin and Ukraine is way different than us in Canada. And I really don't think we would go into Canada with force like that. I don't think we could. If we did, I think that other countries would be like, wow, the U.S. has totally lost its mind. and they would help Canada. They would almost have to, because we would actually have lost our mind if we go into Canada with like tanks and drones or whatnot. But if we economically go in and say, hey, let's become one, okay, it's totally different than Russia and Ukraine. And what was the next one?
Chinese said Lower Manhattan is Chinatown, so we'll just annex that because there are a lot of Chinese there and they speak our language there.
All right, Lower Manhattan is Chinatown, annex it. So the Chinese got there, what, 100 years, 200, 300, whatever years ago. Okay, I don't know how long, probably not 300, right? But it doesn't make any sense. It's like, why China wouldn't come in and do that? But we will go into, in the early 1900s, we'll go break up the Ottoman Empire. We'll go break up the Ottoman Empire so that at some point in the future, we can go into Palestine and say, hey, this piece of land belongs to the Jews, the Israelites, or however you want to say it, and we're going to take that for them. Now, so what he's saying is wrong. Now, if China said, oh, we're going to come and take Arizona back for the Native Americans. Arizona is now for the Cherokee or Mashate Pequot or whoever Native American lived there. China goes and defends Arizona for them. That would be more of a correlation, like a similarity. Not just saying because it's not the same.
There or in Little Italy, we're going to take Italians. We're going to take Little Italy because
no, it's not the same either. Italians weren't here before. It's not historically Italian, right? Like if Italy wants to come and say we're going to liberate the Native Americans that you stole the land from, or even liberate the land for the Negroes that you stole from Africa and whatnot, but not. You can't go into a place and say, oh, we've been here for 100 years, now it's ours. That's not how it works.
There are a lot of Italian. It's silly.
Yeah, you're
so
being silly.
I think I understand what the president's trying to do. And then listening to the Canadian leaders, it almost sounds like we're a sports conference. They want Oregon and California and Washington to include in the Canadian conference, and we want something else. I'm looking forward. I saw Jerry Baker on one of the shows earlier who said, look, I'm looking forward to the president getting to the governing phase. And that to your point, this is a time where he has been dominant and President Biden has not really been seen. I'm looking forward to him having to govern and really having to get more serious, because I think this notion of taking or buying Greenland from Denmark when Denmark says no, or annexing Canada, again, I get the most favorable light part of it, but we've got serious issues here, and I'm looking forward to, and I'm rooting for the president to deal with the serious issues in a successful way.
Right, me too.
Whatever that was.
I don't even get it. Like somebody come up. They don't even understand. He just
Roseanne, what I love about this whole situation is that Trump could just bring something up and say, well, let's just see what happens. You know, can we buy this? How much does that cost? And people laugh, but then you go, wait a minute, it's actually happening.
Well, it actually is.
When you were born with so much money that you can have anything you want, that's a natural question for you to ask.
Not the first time this has happened. They're calling the president-elect, bananas and crazy for coming up with this idea.
Crazy.
But by the way, this is not the first time that America's tried to buy Greenland. Back in 1867, Democratic President Harry Truman tried to buy Greenland for $100 million, which would be about a bill in our day and age, $1 billion. Didn't happen. Obviously, still very important. And as you mentioned, Jesse, has a lot of minerals. Very important for our country.
Like ibex, looking rocks,
the president
getting
may be
minerals.
onto something.
What do you say, Dana? I feel like the Trump effect has moved beyond our borders, and people are kind of getting into it.
Well, I think that this is happening all over the Western world. Name a government that's doing well under the left.
She looks like Kelly. What's her name?
Yeah.
Not Germany.
Nope.
Not England. Yeah.
What's the name? What's the lady's name? Kelly something. She made it the, what was it? Disinformation or misinformation or Alternative facts. She looks like that lady that coined the term alternative facts.
Certainly, none of them are actually thriving. Now, don't at me with your GDP, but
don't at me, yo.
Trump has the wind at his back.
GDP don't
and
matter
he
right
won.
now.
And look at Trudeau. If you look at the GDP for Trudeau and America, it has separated. Like, there's no wonder he has sunk like a stone when it comes to his popularity. The other thing I would think about is Richard Nixon. They said
The entire GDP of the world is really bad right now since the 2020.
he had that madman theory, and this is sort of this as well. There is no way that anybody would actually be talking about America buying Greenland or Canada or changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico
Unless Trump
to the
had
Gulf
said
of
it.
America if Trump didn't have the wind at his back. And all of these other countries are going, is he serious? Are we next? And they're keeping everyone on their toes. And it reminds me of one quick story about.
Well, I kind of think Trump always has the wind at his back. He was born that way. When you're born with that much power, you can say the dumbest stuff. You can have a state company, an airplane company, a casino. How can you have a casino that fails? No casino fails ever other than the Trump Hotel. It's the only casino of all time that didn't fail. That I'm almost positive. Like crazy.
David Remnick's a writer for The New Yorker, and he had an opportunity to meet these North Koreans who work at the UN, but they have to stay in a little office, and they're supposed to report back every day. So David Remnick, the reporter, got granted access to go and do this interview. He was going to go to North Korea, maybe get to see the leader. But the whole time during the interview, the only thing these North Korean diplomats did was say, what do you think Trump means?
Right.
What does he say? Like, when he says this, what does this mean? Because they didn't know how to translate it back to their leader, and they thought they might get executed if they could.
Zelensky said that when he talks with other world.
If I translate what Trump says, my leader will kill me.
Leaders will ask him what Trump said.
Exactly.
And Zelensky said, no one ever does that with anybody else he talks to. Joe Biden also has his wind at his back, but that's from the fiber. It's really good for you. It is good for you. Try it, kids.
Way. So I'm sure that you've noticed I show a lot of right-wing stuff, or I like to look at the other side more. If Savvy Sabs is a left-wing, she's one of my favorite people. Hardcore or Hard Lens Media is another one that's a good left-wing. I don't show them as much because I agree with them more, and it's not that I like to, I don't know, I enjoy more looking at the far left or the far right and then critiquing them from the far left. But anyway, a little bit less babbling. Here comes Sky News talking about the Justin Trudeau resignation and Donald Trump.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced his resignation following a 9-year reign.
This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
Mr. Trudeau had faced enormous pressure from within his own party and criticisms of his handling of the economy and of Donald Trump's threats to impose tariffs on imports from its northern neighbor. Cal, in one respect, this is a huge win for Trump, and he has continued to troll Trudeau over this. There was a meme that was going around, first of all. Trump had posted this AI image of himself looking over what appeared to be the Canadian mountain ranges days after joking, or maybe it was half joking, to Trudeau.
Trump is really good at this, though, being
the 51st U.S. state. Plus, take a look at this. Donald Trump has again trolled him on Truth Social today with this post reading, "The United States can no longer suffer the massive trade deficits and subsidies Canada needs to stay afloat." Justin Trudeau knew that. He resigned, adding if Canada merged with the US, there would be no tariffs, taxes would go way down, and they would be totally secure from the threat of Russian and Chinese ships. Now, I don't think he's serious about this 51st state business, but he must think that this is his scalp.
Of course it is. It's his third scalp. His first was Joe Biden. His second was Kamala Harris. Now he's claimed the scalp of Trudeau. And Trudeau didn't help. I mean,
scalping
been
people,
immensely unpopular for a long time now. And for a long time, the polls have all been saying, look, the Conservatives are going to whip in. They've got to have an election by October. So next election, there's absolutely no way Trudeau's Liberal Party can win. So he knew he was in trouble. And he decided, as a judgment call, that he would rush down to Mar-a-Lago and cuddle up to Trump and see if he could get somewhere. All that Trump did was make jokes. I mean,
didn't work right.
Trump's got a sense of humour you've got to understand, where he talks about buying Greenland and maybe taking in Canada. I mean, that is Trump. But Trudeau looked silly. He looked weak. There he was, sitting in the lap of Donald Trump just to...
But is Trump all the way joking, or does he want to make these land masses part of the United States?
And being as nice as he could and tugging the forelock. And his own deputy, his own treasurer, then decided she was really unhappy with the way he was dealing with Trump and Trump's threats of more tariffs and so on. So she quit. So it just all fell apart. So it was a very bad judgment call by Trudeau at a time when he was already unpopular. And yes, Trump did it to him.
You know, Louise, he was the darling of the progressives for so long. Where did it all go so wrong? I mean, at one point, he lost count of the number of times, for example, that he put on blackface. Who else could survive that? And do you remember this from 2016 when the self-proclaimed male feminist elbowed a female MP on the floor of the House of Commons and told her to get the F out of the way? Tell me, what Conservative politician would have got away with that?
None. The police probably would have been called, and he or she may have been charged with assault. I mean, I think Justin Trudeau is a classic example of where idealism meets reality, and the two don't really mix at all. And he alienated, as Cal was saying, he alienated his core base very, very quickly because he gave this glorious sun-filled plan of climate action and social justice solutions, none of which he delivered. So once they were sort of off the bat and not supporting him, it was very easy to transition to him.
Just like Obama, he talked a big game, promised a lot of stuff, and did not deliver. If you don't deliver on the stuff you talk about, but that's like Trump in his first term, talking all this big stuff, Mexico's going to pay for the wall. But Trump was even talking about, he didn't call it universal health care, but he said he's going to get health care for everybody. Trump did hardly anything that he said he was going to do other than tax cuts for the super uber rich.
And say, what about the budget? You're $68 billion in debt. I can't even get my head around that figure, how he's managed to plunge Canada into so much debt.
$68 billion in debt. We are like $23 trillion in debt. We could just buy Canada. So that's what Trump's talking about, right? You make Canada part of America, that $68 billion gets absorbed into our $23-30 trillion, whatever it is, and it doesn't make a difference.
They're saying that his treasurer resigned, but he just had this sort of glorious sort of pattern of what he thought would work for Canada, but he didn't actually put Canada first. He was more interested in stomping around on the world stage and going to India, destroying that relationship.
In the West, we put corporations first. You don't put Canada, the people. You don't put the United States, the people. You don't put any people first. You put, the people you put first, they're called stockholders. They are the first ones. And Trump works for them. Everybody, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, you work for them.
Making things difficult with China as well about tariffs. And yet for the average
China
Canadian,
doesn't
I'm
as
thinking,
much.
I can't afford my groceries, I can't afford to buy a house. Does that sound familiar? So, you know, he had to go.
Gotta go. But so, you know, it's looking at Greenland and Trump talking about all this stuff, is he talking about bringing people together, or is he talking about imperializing people? So, you know, to get the truth, that's why we look at things from across the spectrum.